It's 4:01, and I will call the meeting to order. We'll do attendance by a roll call vote since we're in a hybrid mode. So Tricia Murray,
Present.
Joy Jordan,
Present.
and Emily Mylan present. We first things first need to vote to approve the minutes of June the 22nd, 2022, which I shared with you prior to the meeting. Does anyone have any suggestions for edits or clarification?
I do not.
I move that we approve the minutes from the June 22nd meeting.
All right, Joy made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, and we'll do a roll call vote to approve the minutes of June the 22nd. Joy Jordan,
Yes.
Tricia Murray,
Yes.
and Emily Mylan is a yes, so unanimous. Thank you very much. All right, and Tricia will be doing the minutes for this meeting.
Yes.
All right, so public comment. I'm so excited because in my 9 years on Voter Information Committee, this is one of the few times we've actually had someone here for public comment, and I'm thrilled to say that it is our new town clerk, Emily Mitchell. So thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so grateful to be here. We are heading into election season, which seems a little crazy to say in July, but it's fast approaching, so I just wanted to start sharing some information with your committee and with any folks who may be tuning in live or watching the recording. We are in the process of updating the town clerk section of the website. We actually just went live with the state primary and state election dates, and then some updated information on the vote by mail process. So for anyone who maybe isn't following this stuff closely, the state of Massachusetts did just pass the Votes Act, which has expanded a lot of voting access resources for residents and voters. So one of the big changes is that vote by mail is now a permanent option for voters to participate in any state primary, state election, or presidential primary. So that will affect us immediately coming this fall. So a lot of folks watching may have gotten those little index cards in the mail, and that's their vote by mail application. We did just do a little PSA on Channel 18 to kind of walk folks through the process for completing those applications. If you don't mind, I'll give a quick one now too. I'm just trying to get the information out there as broadly as I can.
Perfect.
So those cards went to anybody who was a registered voter. They were sent directly by the state to folks at the address they're registered at. And if they were a registered voter by the 60th day prior to the state primary. So if you're newly registered or have changed anything about your voter registration, you didn't receive that from the state, that doesn't mean you can't vote by mail. There's blank vote by mail applications that you can get here in person at the town clerk's office, on our website, on the Secretary of State's website. So it's available to anyone who's registered to vote in time for the election. But if you got those little cards in the mail, it will be pre-filled with your name, the address you're registered to vote at, and your party affiliation, and those will be on the left side column. On the right side column, you'll identify which elections you want to receive a ballot for. So that could be all 2022 elections, it could be the state primary only, or it could be the state election only. And then it also asks you to pick which ballot you want to receive, either Democrat or Republican, and that's specifically if you're voting in the primary because they're different ballots. And then you'll also just be signing that that's in fact what you want to receive. So we are seeing some folks maybe filling them out incorrectly, so we just want to make sure that, if you're filling it out, you definitely want to fill out all the relevant boxes. It's also important to note that if you are registered with a party, so if you're a registered Democrat, say, you are only entitled to receive the Democrat ballot for a primary, and that's just because Massachusetts is a semi-closed primary state. So folks are welcome to fill those out. If they send them to us, that means we'll send you a ballot by mail for whichever elections you've identified. Folks aren't required to vote by mail, so there's no pressure to fill those out if you enjoy voting in person. That's of course still available, but it's a great tool. We've probably received a couple thousand already of these vote by mail applications. So folks are very welcome to send them in. Give us a call if you have any questions about how to fill them out or what it means to vote by mail. There are a couple deadlines, so if you're looking to vote by mail in the September 6th primary, the deadline to submit that vote by mail application is August 29th. And if you're looking to vote in the November state election, the deadline is November 1st to submit those applications. We do recommend folks get them in as early as possible, just because we have to mail out the ballots and then you have to have time to complete them and mail them back to us. So just knowing mailing's involved on two sides, the earlier the better, but those are the deadlines, and if you get those applications in by the deadline, we'll make sure to get you the ballots.
Awesome. And those can also be dropped off in the drop box here at Town Hall, correct?
They certainly
Okay.
can, yes.
Okay.
And the postage is prepaid on those too by the state, so folks can just put them in the mail, postage is paid, drop box is great, or you can walk them into the office. We'd have a number of folks stopping by the window to drop them by, and we're happy to take them that way as well.
Perfect.
Yes.
Good. And if you have any questions, that's probably a good way to go about it.
Yes,
And make sure that
definitely.
you filled it out correctly.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
All right.
And then just those 2 dates, we do have the primary is September 6th, the Tuesday, and the state election November 8th. Those are just standard election days, both Tuesdays. Voting will be at the Harwich Community Center, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Another thing that changed with the Votes Act was making permanent in-person early voting, and so those schedules are still in flux a little bit, but we'll be publishing those dates as soon as we have them finalized.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Wow, lots of information. Also, I saw at the Board of Selectmen's meeting that we have a date for special town meeting, correct?
Yes.
September the 27th, and that
Yes.
is finalized?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Is there anything that we can do to help you get that information out? Would it be helpful for us to create some slides to share on like the library social media and to post on our webpage as well, just to spread the word?
I think that would be great. I'd love to send you the link to our page, and then however is useful to kind of get that information out in a
Perfect.
more visually appealing way or aesthetic way than just, text on a web page would be great.
Awesome.
I don't have it live yet, but we'll be posting the specimen ballots for the primary hopefully within the next 24 hours as well. So if you are comfortable putting those out so folks know who's on the ballot, that would be incredibly helpful as well.
Excellent.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So helpful.
So great to be
I
here.
really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You are welcome to stick around, or if you have other things to do.
I'd love to stick
completely
around.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. Excellent. Well, so excited to have public comment for once and all of this useful information. So we'll do what we can to help you get the word out. We have some other projects in place under old business. We were going to discuss today the info sheets that we've been working on. So for anyone who's watching, listening, and for Emily as well, our info sheets are kind of one-page voter outreach documents, FAQs, so to speak, on different topics. And the first topic up for discussion was voter registration. That was assigned to Tricia. So Tricia, do you want to share with us any progress you've made on that one?
Yes, so I drafted one that has the information, not, I'm sure it can be like jazzed up in terms of graphics, but I don't know if you, let me see if I can share it, if I can access the drive and share.
If not, it's okay, Tricia. I have it in front of me. I think it.
You too.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Well, I do not. Give me 1 second. At least I don't have to share it, so that's a good thing. That's where things usually go bad for me. Yeah, so it is not, it's just strictly about registering. It's not, it didn't address the cards that Emily Mitchell just talked about. Because I felt like that was, those people were already registered voters. And I understood my mission or my assignment to how someone could newly register to vote. So I provided 3 ways online, directing them to the Secretary of State's website, in person, or the mail-in registration form. And I was thinking I could embed the mail-in registration form on our website and link to that as well. So I'm not sure I'm open to any and all suggestions about additional information we could include, and it's great that we have the town clerk present so she can weigh in since she's the expert.
Good point. So Emily, next time we'll probably put these in a packet so that you can see the information ahead of time. But like Tricia said, it's on, she has 3 sections on the document: registering online, in person, and then the mail-in registration form. Tricia, I really like the idea of embedding that on our webpage. I think that would be really helpful. So online is by visiting the Secretary of State's website, which you mentioned already. And Tricia's noted that in doing that, you can register or pre-register. You can check your existing registration information, update your address or party affiliation, or update your name if any information has changed. Then in person here at Town Hall, and then the mail-in form, which we'll embed on our website. Can you think of anything else?
I don't think so. And I think we can use this as a parallel and create how to vote. Once we have how to register to vote, how to vote, and we can incorporate some of that information you were just talking about, and early voting, mail-in voting, or in person on the day of, and kind of have that same framework.
Perfect. And what we discussed at our last meeting was that Tricia and I were going to create content, and you were going to do the graphic design,
Yes.
correct? Yay. So Tricia, we are off the hook for the graphic design part.
And I don't know if it's later, but I sent a few samples that we can kind of talk
Okay,
about
perfect.
what we're looking for.
Perfect.
The only other thing I wanted to add is I was at the International Festival on Hyannis Green on Sunday, and the League of Women Voters were there, and they were handing out like business card size QR codes with a link directly to the Secretary of State's office, which would accomplish the same thing. I did save that QR code as a PDF in our Voter Information Committee drive. Perhaps that could be incorporated into the document as well.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think people are more accustomed to using those QR codes now post-pandemic because so many restaurants and places were using those to access information. So I think that's a really, it's a more accessible format for people now. It's a great idea.
And I guess I could actually also add that to our website if I could figure out how to do that.
And if you need to, I can easily create a new QR code that goes directly to the Secretary of State's site and send it to you in like a JPEG format, which is probably easier to upload than a PDF.
PDF, yep.
Wonderful.
Excellent. So I don't have any other suggestions for the content on that info sheet. That looks great to me, Tricia. Thank you.
Yes, good job.
Thanks.
All right, so I was assigned the Voter Information Committee general info. We were going to do a one sheet on kind of what Voter Information Committee does. The content that I used is the same content that's currently on our website, so it is a duplication of information. It's not really new information. We did discuss, and I was going to look to you for some advice on wording. The one thing that isn't currently addressed on our website is the fact that Voter Information Committee focuses primarily on local issues and elections, that we're not looking at statewide and federal elections. That's come up in the past, so we just want to make sure that we're really clear about that. But I'm wondering if someone might have some better wording for how we can incorporate that. Right now what I have is, what does the committee do? And it's basically our charge from the committee handbook that we're appointed by the Board of Selectmen to inform and prepare voters of our community on important issues to be addressed at annual and special town meeting and the local annual election, and to encourage voter registration and participation. So that's pretty standard. How do we do it? Each year we set goals, which often include, panel discussions on the town warrant, etc. And how to apply. Voters can apply by submitting the Citizens Activity Record Form. I'll remove the C link above because we're going to, well, actually, I'm just going to highlight that because maybe we do want to include something there. And then as we're doing this, Joy's working her magic and typing, I can see some better wording for how we can just emphasize that we're focusing only on local issues and elections. All right, so I'm going to read Joy's suggestion. The charge of Voter Information Committee is to offer education to Harwich voters, and as such focuses only on local issues and election. Is a purely nonpartisan town committee. I really like that wording. Tricia,
do too. I wonder if, instead of the last "and" clause, if that would be a standalone sentence.
Yeah.
yeah, I think,
The Voter Information Committee is a purely nonpartisan.
I like that. All right. So are we pretty happy with the content for this info sheet, or do we have anything else we want to add? What we do, how we do it, how to apply. I didn't want to mention that we currently have vacancies only because my feeling was that these were intended to be fairly timeless.
Right.
And,
Yes.
okay.
Do we want?
I think it's a good idea to link to the form though. Why not? Or when we get to how to join a committee that I prepared, I linked to both this form, but also a list of all the vacancies.
Oh, that's a great idea. And maybe, again, we could do that as a QR code if this is intended to be like a handout. We could include a QR code to the citizens, to that page on the town website with the citizens activity record, and then one for the vacancies. Okay.
Do we want to say somewhere, maybe under how we do it, that we also produce and disseminate educational materials?
Yes. Yes. That's definitely something we've started doing more of in the last couple of years and maybe wasn't previously. So, Tricia, when we finalize this language, will you update it on our webpage as well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, okay, so I like this final wording that she came up. Voter Information Committee also produces and disseminates educational materials to inform local voters on election events, meetings, and other guidance on participating in local government. That's pretty all-encompassing.
Yeah, that will cover some of the newer things that we're working on.
Just, Emily, you read "or and other guidance."
Oh.
But just to be precise, it's "or other guidance."
It does say "or other guidance," thank you.
But I think it looks great.
And I think the "or" is the way to go. Okay, all right, perfect. So next up on our agenda, I'm going to say I hit a wall on this one. It's signing up for news and alerts on the town website. And this is something that I feel like if it's okay with the two of you, I'd like to have a meeting. I'd like to meet with Jamie Goodwin. She and I have talked in the past about recording a video on how to do this, how to go through this process, how to sign up for news and alerts, because there's a couple of different things at play. And I did start gathering information, and it's shared with you. There are urgent alerts and updates, and then there are news and announcements, and then there's another piece where you can register to have all of the agendas and minutes for specific committees sent directly to your inbox. And those are all very useful things, but they're all done a little bit differently. And it is a pretty visual thing, so trying to put all of that onto one sheet was getting a little confusing. So I'd like to sit down with Jamie, if it's okay with you guys. I'd like to postpone this one. Sit down with Jamie between now and our next meeting and see if she can kind of help us word this in a way that will translate to a printed document. Because I do think it's really visual, and I do think the idea of us recording a walkthrough, which is something she and I have talked about, would be really useful. But for people who aren't...
Well, and then we could take screenshots from the video walkthrough and use those to
Exactly.
create.
And this may end up not being just one page. It may be a front and back. It may be two separate documents. I don't know. But I'd like to postpone this one until the next meeting so that I can meet with Jamie?
I'm in
That's
favor of
fine.
that.
Okay.
I'm not sure if this is appropriate, but since we are lucky enough to have the clerk with us, town clerk with us, I don't know if her office is doing anything on this front.
Do you have anything planned on signing up for news and alerts?
Nothing planned.
Okay.
If I could switch hats for a moment, I am the prior Council on Aging director, and I know this was something the Council on Aging was very involved in, especially finding non-computer based ways for people to sign up for these alerts. And I recall when the town rolled out the new emergency notification system, we did create a paper-based sign-up and worked with, as COA staff and in conjunction with Channel 18 staff, to enter that information on people's behalf so that they could still get, a phone call, even if they weren't getting text messages or emails, but to get especially the emergency notifications,
Right.
less so the, agendas and meeting minutes or the, program and event updates, but especially the emergency notifications. So COA might be worth looping in as well, especially on the emergency side. And switching back to my town clerk hat, I would love to find ways to expand, notification on agendas and minutes and those types of things. So I don't have anything in the works, but would be thrilled to partner on something going forward.
So, and that's something that we've talked about in the past, Emily, a discussion that we had at a previous meeting. And we could perhaps put this on as an agenda topic and really have a discussion about it at the next meeting. But it is using the alert system for public hearings, things that often, we want to use multiple ways to get that information out, that might be a good use of that system.
Excellent.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So setting aside the signing up for news and alerts for now, we'll move on to how to join boards and committees. Trisha, you were working on this one as well.
Yeah, this one, I got it to a page, but I definitely struggled to try to limit it to that. So, it's titled How to Join a Board or Committee. The first step is to check the Voter Information Committee website for a list of committee vacancies. And I linked to our website. I think we must be tied, I haven't updated it, but it was current as of July 21st, so I'm thinking our website is somehow tied into maybe the town administrator's office.
You're correct. Yep.
Edited that list, so that's great. The next step is to complete the Citizens Committee vacancy form found on the website. Again, I linked to it. Step number 3, I shared that the form asks for the applicant's name, address, email, telephone number, and occupation. The form asks the applicant to list in order of preference the committee or board on which they wish to serve, and asks the applicant to furnish their educational background, relevant skills, and reason for interest in the committee. The third step is to meet with the Selectmen Interview Committee, and I indicate that you discuss your application, including your interests and qualifications. And note that if the Interview Committee decides to forward your application to the full board of Selectmen, it'll be subject to a vote. I don't talk about the Selectmen vote, the full board of Selectmen vote. I'm not sure if it's necessary, but I'm definitely open to suggestions. But the fourth step is upon appointment by the Board of Selectmen, the fourth step is labeled Town of Harwich Committee Handbook and Ethics Training. And it says that upon appointment by the Board of Selectmen, the applicant will be notified in writing by the Town Administrator's Office of their appointment to the board or committee and the term of the appointment. And then I add that if the Board of Selectmen votes to appoint me to the requested committee, that should say board or committee, you will receive a copy of the Town of Harwich Committee Handbook and be required to undergo ethics training offered by the Secretary of State's office. The applicant will also be instructed to be sworn in by the town clerk clerk before taking any action at a meeting of the committee to which they're appointed. So we need to add board or committee to both of those. But so that's what I have. I don't know if I missed anything. I don't think I did, but definitely interested in feedback.
I don't think you missed anything at all. I actually think you did a really good job summarizing that and making this, kind of succinct outline of the process. You did a great
Yeah, I
job.
think it's fantastic.
Okay, great.
Are you sure you're not secretly a librarian? As an information professional, this is just very well organized.
30 years of being a lawyer. Handy for something.
It's excellent. I don't have any suggestions.
Okay, great.
No, I think Joy can work her magic with the graphics, and that 3 of the 4 are pretty much ready to go. So, are we all in agreement?
I think so.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So maybe the goal for next meeting can be to have a draft copy of these 3
Do we want to
to look
talk
at. Yes.
briefly at the various concepts?
Yep. Absolutely.
Are
Sure.
in there. It's the PDF titled VIC info sheet.
Info sheet. Yep.
And just to give you a little of my thinking, if you scroll, there's 3 different ones. 2 are kind of the same, just in color and in black and white. So the sort of tension in doing something like this is we want it to look good on the website and various social media channels we might use, which usually means lots of colors, but that is harder to print, and we definitely want to have these printed, and available at town hall, the town clerk's office, libraries, that sort of thing. So that's sort of the differences between some of them. I have my own preferences and thoughts, but I will await hearing from you two.
I'll start by saying that I do like the 2 color options best. So the first and the third option both have color. I think that the library would be willing to make photocopies and print these. So I think that we could be comfortable. I am comfortable saying that we can do these in color without a doubt. My preference, just quickly looking at them visually, is the last of the 3. I really like the fonts. I think it's very clear to read. I working with some patrons of the library that have some, have low vision and other things. I just think that the font on that third option is really crisp and clear and very easy to read.
And my goal was to create it in a way that we can just pop all these different topics in. And I'm not in love with like the learn about language, but I couldn't come up with anything better. Because I'd love for it to be a true series, like learn about Harwich Town Meeting, learn about how to register to vote.
Yeah.
But I got stuck on learn
Trisha,
about.
what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I like the font on the third as well, but I like the graphics on the first one.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I mean, vote, that's a one word and that's easy to capture, but, join a committee, I don't know if that would fit in
Yeah.
that shape. So I could see that's a challenge. I do like, I like this banner on the first one. Information, just
Yeah.
not necessarily even the wording, but I like that it directs your attention to what it is, information guide.
Yeah, and we
learn
can
how to, or
definitely kind of integrate different parts.
I agree. I like that yellow banner too. It really does draw the eye, and it separates the information below from the header. So I'm going, so far I'm hearing font of the third, but that banner from the first, I do like the larger town seal on the first one as well. If there's a way to kind of increase the size of that on the other.
And we can pull the photo or move it elsewhere.
Yeah.
Definitely, and make a larger logo. Yeah. I was struggling because I was trying to coordinate it with the colors of the seal.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
my computer is telling me it's like purple and yellow, which I don't know if it really is.
I think it's really blue and
Right,
yellow.
but
I'm
every
wondering,
version-
Emily, do you have a digital copy of that seal anywhere?
I bet Jamie does. I
bet Jamie does.
That's an excellent question. We may.
Really
It's not
high
one
res.
I've found quite yet, but that I
Yeah.
have not looked in every file, so I will make a note to see what we have.
And I'll make a note to ask Jamie.
Okay. And I can pull in, and it's easier now that I have some of the content. I can pull it together again, and we'll do another sample one.
Okay.
And see what else we want to adjust based on what you both have said here today.
Okay. All right. I just, you mentioned the learn about. I don't hate that language. I mean, I think I'm trying to like play around with it, and maybe that's something we can give some thought between now and the next meeting. What's a phrase that we could use to kind of, because I see the idea of wanting to tie them together as like a series
Right.
of.
I mean, I have this vision of them kind of all lined up at the library,
Yeah.
all lined up, here at town
Yeah.
hall.
Well, that's something else to think about. In cleaning out a supply cabinet, I came across like 10 of those brochure stands, like 8.5 by 11 size, and you can put 4 different documents. So if we're thinking about them being lined up in that
Right.
order,
You want-
you really want that header to be specific enough to know exactly
Right.
what that's about. Yeah.
And laid out on the page, so that it's not covered by the
yeah.
document. Yeah.
I made a note to bring one of those next time so we can
Okay.
look at the sizing and stuff as well. So, so do you have enough feedback to go on to
I
put
think
together
so.
some drafts
Yeah. And so moving forward, so we don't have to delay this too long, are you both comfortable with doing some of this by email?
So this is,
how does-
so this is where I think it gets a little bit tricky,
Yeah.
having just attended the open meeting law training yesterday. So I love
Right.
I love Google Drive for sharing information and for us to just have a place to store documents, because I think one of the hardest things about serving on a committee like this is we need like a shared workspace, and Google Drive does a great job. However, we can't deliberate
Okay.
in that format. So we can post things there, share them, view them, but we can't discuss
and
them.
forth.
We can't add comments to them. We can't be like actively editing them and working on them at the same time. Trisha, with your legal background and having also just attended the open meeting law, would you agree with that that's the safest practice, the best practice?
Yes, that actually came up in the evening session, and the Attorney General has specifically ruled that editing in Google Docs would be considered deliberation.
Yeah. Yep. So we can post things there and use it as a shared space, but we can't be editing and deliberating on those together as a group, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So I can post them there in advance of the next meeting.
So you can post them there in
And then
advance
discuss
of the
them.
next meeting.
Okay.
And what I would like for us to do as a committee is make every effort to have all of those documents that we're going to be discussing and deliberating in our meeting in that Google folder in enough time for us to post a packet of information so that if Emily's coming, she has access to it. Anybody who's considering attending will have access to the documents that we're going to be discussing. Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah, perfect.
It does.
Okay.
So if we meet on Wednesdays, are you thinking by like midnight on, or 12:01 Tuesday, or are you thinking the Friday before?
So I was actually thinking the Friday before. If we're posting, I've always,
Oh, 48 hours.
yep, I've always just made it a habit to post the agenda on Friday. And so I think if we could have everything in there by Thursday, the Thursday prior to the meeting,
Okay.
and, finalize the agenda, and then it can be posted on Friday. Does that sound doable?
Sure.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Anything else under the info sheets that we need to discuss before we move on to Town Meeting 101?
I'm good.
Okay. All right, so Town Meeting 101, I wanted to discuss the format, timeline, and assigned tasks associated to this. However, then I heard that we're having special town meeting, so I feel like special town meeting may take precedence. So I just wanted to take things out of order a bit. Special town meeting is technically under new business, but I think it would be appropriate to discuss it now. Special town meeting is scheduled actually for September the 27th. That was incorrect on the agenda. It has been updated since then. I was originally basing that on what I was reading in the Chronicle, but it's changed a bit. So September the 27th is a Tuesday, I believe. And it looks like the focus of this town meeting will relate to some changes in funding related to the Monomoy Regional School District Agreement and to water wastewater primarily. So I would like to reach out to our water wastewater superintendent, Dan Pelletier, and see if he might be in need of assistance in, he's recorded podcasts with us in the past and, that sort of thing. So if it's okay with you guys, I'd like to reach out to him and see if he might need our assistance in getting some information out ahead of special town meeting.
Yes.
So, just to clarify, is the thought now to perhaps not do Town Meeting 101 in the fall because there won't be the bandwidth
Yeah.
of anybody involved?
That's my thought at this point. We had originally talked about, let me just pull up the calendar because I don't trust my memory at the moment to think that I remember our discussion from last month. I think we had originally talked about doing this in the fall. We had planned CPA, CPC for September and then Town Meeting 101 for October or November. That was our discussion last time. My concern is that with a special town meeting in September, we need to push things back.
Right.
Maybe shoot for CPA, CPC in October, November after special town meeting, and then the Town Meeting 101 after the new year. What are your thoughts?
I think that makes sense.
I think it makes sense. I mean, I know after the new year is when the budget crunch, that's when everyone starts gearing up for the next one, but what are we supposed to do? So.
Yeah, and I think fortunately for us, Town Meeting 101, our intention was to work with Michael Ford, the town moderator, and likely Emily Mitchell, our town clerk as well. So that might actually help us out a bit. They won't be in that same budget process. Emily will be, but Michael won't be in that same budget process that department heads would be in. So that could be somewhat helpful.
Because truly, I can't think of a good time in that sense. You know what I mean? Because then you're leading up into Springtown meeting, and then it's summer and it's hard, and so we just are a year later and in the same position of no time frame being ideal. So you
Right.
just make it happen and see what you can do.
And my thought is we've already deferred the municipal boot camp idea to fiscal year 24. And so I really don't want to push Town Meeting 101 out another year. I think that one's really important. So I think our best bet is probably to go with focusing on special town meeting in September, CPA, CPC, October, November, and Town Meeting 101 after the first of the year. I just think December is never a good month for anything. Right. Again, bandwidth. Nobody has the bandwidth for that during the holidays, so that would be an after January thing.
Yeah, I think that
Okay.
makes sense.
So I don't know that... I'm sorry, go right ahead.
Just now, did I miss something in October, or we're going to go from special town meeting to the Community Preservation Act in November?
October, November is kind of where I
Okay.
had it. I don't know. I actually have that. That's up next. So if we want to defer any discussion about the Town Meeting 101 to a future meeting, since we've decided to postpone that, we could move on to the next agenda item, which is CPA, CPC.
Okay.
So CPA, CPC, my suggestion is defer it to October, November. I don't know what the next step is. I think likely we need to go to their meeting, let them know that we, have this idea of working with them on a presentation and get some feedback and input from them. I thought maybe for today we might want to discuss the format and outline some questions that we think the community may have about CPA, CPC, and then get some feedback from the committee themselves. They had a meeting initially scheduled for earlier this month. I believe it was the 14th, and my intention was to go, but the meeting was postponed, which I know because I'm signed up for the agendas. So I got that lovely notification in my email saying that the meeting had been canceled. But they do have a meeting coming up. I had the date somewhere in my notes, but I don't see it in front of me. They have an August meeting on the schedule, so my intention was to go then to that CPC meeting and just, introduce myself, tell them we have this idea, and get some feedback from them. But I'd like to, to tell them what format we're thinking of and have some questions that we think maybe the program could answer. So that's what I'm looking to you guys for some input on.
Well, I think this idea was, at least since I've been stuck, I don't know if it was talked about in the past, but it was reintroduced anyway after town meeting when we noticed that there was some confusion about what those funds could or could not be used for. So it's almost, it's like, I think we were looking at it as a meet the organization type of event. This is our mission, this is how we fulfill it. And maybe we could incorporate the how do you get on it, how do you join that committee.
Yeah, the configuration of that committee might be a little bit different. I think they have some designees from other committees, and so we could definitely get into that a little bit as well. So what is, what are CPA funds? What is the Community Preservation Committee? How are the funds allocated? What can they be used for? Who administers the funds? Who can apply for funds? Go ahead.
In the earlier section of the questions, I think it's important to include where the funds come from, that they are sort of, when they are approved at town meeting, they are already in existence. They are not a future tax or a future fee. They have already been collected.
Yes.
For lack of a better word. Because I think that's another area where voters often get confused, that it's kind of money that's already there and it's just how it's going to be allocated and spent, and that there's those specific buckets for it, and there are constraints, there are actual legal constraints on how it's used. So I think those are definitely all sticky points that could use some clarification for a lot of people.
I agree. I think that it's important to discuss CPA and CPC. That's why I have listed it on the agenda that way, because the Community Preservation Act is a legislative act, again, statewide. Harwich is participating in that. Those funds are collected. They're already a part of the taxes that are being collected, and then CPC administers the funds. So I think helping people understand that distinction is important.
I agree.
I haven't looked at their website, but that might be instructive to see if they do any of those explanations and see if there are things that maybe we haven't thought about that they talk about on their website.
Yeah, I know that so I'm looking at their webpage now. And there's some information on the application process and deadlines and that sort of thing, which I think when we discussed this program last time, we talked about focusing on the role of the committee and not the process by which people can apply for funds, correct? We want this to really be like Trish said, a meet the committee, how the committee operates, what their role is.
And if you scroll down, there is information on when Harwich
adopted. Yep.
And the percentage. surcharge and all of that. So I think that's good information that we can pull from.
Okay.
Looks like there's one vacancy on the committee.
I just saw that as well. Yeah, additional Community Preservation Committee sought. Okay, so the town bylaw calls for a 9-person Community Preservation Committee, 1 each from the Conservation Commission, Historic Commission, Planning Board, Youth and Rec Commission, Real Estate and Open Space Committee, Housing Authority, Housing Committee, plus 2 appointed by the Board of Selectmen. So currently there's 1 vacancy on the committee and it is a selectman's appointment. So if anyone's watching or listening and is interested in being a part of that, there's a vacancy there. All right, so just based on our conversation so far, it sounds like we want to focus on Meet the Organization. I'm thinking that this is a recorded presentation on Channel 18, not a live in-person event, but something, again, that will stand up to time and not necessarily be specific to anything that's any CPC projects currently underway. This is Meet the Organization. What do they do? Where the funds come from, so explaining the CPA Act and when it was adopted by Harwich, that the funds have already been collected, how they're administered, allocated, what they can be used for.
With regard to the timing,
Yeah.
I do note that applications are due October 3rd for this cycle, which leads me to believe that they will be heavily into the review process
I know.
for October and November.
Yeah.
Do we know when they're awarded?
I don't off the top of my head. Let me see if I can get that from anywhere on their webpage.
In my recollection, it took at least a couple of months
Oh,
to see them through.
Well, here's an idea. In regards to the timing, maybe we go to the committee and ask them what they think is the most appropriate time.
They may say it's fine, yeah.
They may say it's fine. They may say we could record it in September, but maybe we don't actually start running it or airing it on Channel 18 or getting the word out about it until after special town meeting. If we don't think that the community, will be focused on that at that point, that's an option as well. We can have it like in the can, ready to go.
And I think that's important. I think it's also important to not air it before the deadline before this year's deadline for applications, so we're clear that that's not what this is about.
Right.
This is not a how-to
Yeah.
for those who want to apply.
Yeah.
So, and I think by airing it at least right after that date, we can somewhat avoid that.
Okay. That sounds like a good plan to me. So it looks like, just since we're on their webpage, I believe that their next meeting is scheduled it's the second Thursday of each month, so that would be Thursday, August the 11th at 6 p.m. at Town Hall. So I'm going to put that on my calendar. If you guys would like to join me, feel free.
oh, yeah.
And I'll just go to them with the idea and we'll get feedback from them on the timing.
Okay.
Okay. All right, anything else on CPA, CPC before we move on?
No.
No? Okay. All right, so Municipal Finance 101, this is one that I talked to Jamie about after our last meeting. It's going to take a little bit of doing to get the video for that, but she's working on that, so I will follow up with her on progress. In the meantime, Trish, I'm writing myself a note to send you the link that I have so you can link to it on our webpage, if you don't mind.
Okay, there is a link. I was looking at my notes from the last meeting and I had an assignment to make sure it was on the webpage. There is a link. It's pretty bad video. I'm not sure if that's the thing you're looking for, but I'd be happy to update it with whatever link you send me
Okay.
today or whenever.
Okay. I think Jamie was going to need to kind of dig through an archive to come up with the best quality video. So I will follow up
Okay.
with her on that. And then I'll share that with you so you can update the
Great.
website. All right, bear with me while I write a legible note so I don't forget to do what I'm supposed to do. All right. So municipal boot
I
camp.
just thought of something.
Sure.
Based on our great open meeting training. There's been a lot of reference to great Jamie, and I think we all know who you mean, but maybe just provide her last name just so there's no confusion.
Yes, absolutely. Jamie Goodwin, Channel 18 Director. Thank you. Good to clarify. All right, so Municipal Boot Camp is next up on the agenda. We've postponed that to fall 2023, but I've kept it on the agenda just in case anyone has, come across anything in the news that they want to add to our kind of file on Municipal Finance 101. I don't have anything currently, but if you do, now's the time.
I do not.
I do not either.
Okay. Same thing with the newsletter. We have hopes and dreams of someday having a town-wide newsletter that weekly, Chatham has one called the Main, which is fantastic. We have hopes and dreams of someday having one, but we're keeping it on the agenda as a possibility. All right, so new business.
I will just say that I looked at the Chatham newsletter, and I also think it's fantastic. So.
It's really helpful, I think, to have all of the information in one place. And to be able to look, have a week at a glance, just to see what's coming up in the next week, is really, really helpful.
And one of the, I think, nicest and most interesting parts of that is that they have the full agenda at the bottom, or maybe not full, but they have the agenda of the coming week's select board meeting right there, and it makes it so much more accessible to just be able to scroll down, see what topics are being discussed, and it's just right there. And I think it's a good way to really keep that information top of mind for everybody.
Yeah, I'm really surprised every week when I get feedback on the library's newsletter. Our open rate is at 68% right now, which I think is incredible. So I think that people like having that information delivered right to their inbox and being able to kind of scroll through and feel like they're getting kind of a comprehensive look at what's going on. Yeah. So hopes and dreams. All right, so on to new business. We have 2 agenda items under new business. One is the annual calendar, which I'd like to review and discuss. We've just discussed shifting some things, so I will update the calendar, and you have access to that as well. I'm going to also update it to include Emily's dates that she's given us with deadlines. That's something that we've typically included on the voter information calendar, more for us as a committee just to keep an eye on things. So I'll add those dates and deadlines for the primary and the election in November, along with the deadlines to register to vote, just so we do sometimes get asked that question out in the community. It's good to know and have that information on hand. I'm saying this as a reminder. I'm hoping that you'll help me remember. I've made a note on my calendar. We've booked this meeting room through December, and all of the dates are here. We do need to take a look at November and December because those are right around the holidays, and so it's good to take a look. But the calendar for next calendar year it's not out yet. So you'll notice on the calendar it says to be decided, only because I haven't booked this room yet. So hopefully we'll still have access to the small hearing room, but I'll keep you posted on that. So do we want to take a look at the calendar and see if we want to make any adjustments to November and December?
So that is.
Well, I think that that's the day before Thanksgiving.
It is, which not sure that that's going to be the best timing for any of us. So I wanted to know if you were interested in having it a week later on November the 30th.
I was going to suggest that as well.
I could do a week earlier too, so.
Would you be available to do a week earlier as well if the 30th isn't free, Trish?
Yes.
Okay.
I would be.
Okay. So I will check in at Town Hall tomorrow morning and I'll get back to you and let you know. I'm thinking the 30th might be the best bet, only because it's the 5th Wednesday, and those are rare. So this meeting room may not be booked for the 5th Wednesday.
Bonus.
Yeah, it's a bonus Wednesday. But if the 30th isn't free, we'll have the 16th as a backup. So looking at December, right now we're currently meeting December the 28th. Christmas is on a Sunday this year. So that would be a couple days after the holiday. Do we want to keep it on the 28th? Do we want to try and move it to the 21st if that date's available? What are your thoughts on December?
If I had a choice, I'd rather do it after, just because
I think after would be better for me as well.
The
Trish?
28th,
Yep.
keep it at the 28th. Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I mean, the 21st
Would not.
usually
Yeah.
strange.
Yep. Yes. Not a functional human being. Okay, then the 28th it is. Any other feedback on the calendar? Anything you think we might want to add? Anything that I have not included?
No, it looks pretty comprehensive to me.
Okay. All right.
I guess the only thing I would note, I guess this is just fiscal year 23. So I was going to say it ends in June, and I know now we're meeting in July and August, but that would be fiscal year 24, so.
Yep, everything's got to be fiscal year when it comes to the town. All right. Okay. Moving right along then. So I moved special town meeting, which is our next agenda item. I moved that up. We talked about that under town meeting 101. Does anybody have anything else to say about special town meeting? I'll follow up with Dan Pelletier and let you guys know at the next meeting what his thoughts are and if they might need any assistance getting some information out to voters about anything that will be on the warrant.
I know we did some informational reminders leading up to town meeting in the spring. Do we want to plan on doing that again for special town meeting?
I think that would be great, just reminders about location,
Windows,
time, yeah. Yeah, and if we could repurpose some of the Canva graphics that you have.
Just do that, yep.
Perfect. Okay. Anybody have anything under other to discuss? We've talked about the open meeting law training, which was the only topic I had that I was thinking about bringing up here. And Tricia, thank you. I'm happy that you were able to attend as well. So I have some second line of defense, so you won't let me miss anything.
And the recording will be available.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to say, I got a handout of all the slides, so I'd be happy to add that, to scan it and add it to our drive.
That would be perfect if you don't mind doing that. Mine has scribbles all over it, so yours might be better.
Okay.
All right.
But no, that's all I have, and I actually need to sign off. So
Okay. All right. So
I think that's great.
we have to call it adjourn it, and I'll write it down.
absolutely. So I'll see you guys at our next meeting, and we'll try and have all of the assignments in the folder and ready to go. And there being no further business, anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
All right. Second.
I seconded it.
All right. And we have to do a roll call vote since we're hybrid. So Tricia, you go first.
Agree, yes.
Joy Jordan.
Yes.
And Emily Milan is an aye. Thank you.